Tonight we'll go a different way, you and me. Tell your friends that this might take some time and you'll be back another day. I can see us breaking down the barrier. Oh yeah. With the speed of light we cross the stratosphere. Oh yeah, we can go so far, so far away. Baby, let's go far, so far, you and me. Let's dance the night away, we're locked together far away, you and me. We'll have a celebration to an unknown destination, can't you see? I can see us breaking down the barrier. Oh yeah. With the speed of light we cross the stratosphere. Oh yeah. We can go so far, so far away. Baby, let's go far, so far, you and me. We'll dance all night till the break of dawn. Come on now, let your feelings show. Oh baby, we'll dance all night till the break of dawn. Come on now, let your feelings show. Oh baby, we'll dance all night till the break of dawn. Come on now, let your feelings show. Oh baby.
Hey guys, welcome to today's live stream. I hope you're all having a great afternoon, morning, evening, wherever time it is. We're in your part of the country or the world. So I am back. I actually had pushed back this live like a couple of times because I forgot to like ask for submissions for the user submissions. Just because I got distracted by like the moving and the whole taxes of it all and all the other things. So I'm going to actually ask for submissions today for the viewer submission show like next time. So don't let me forget. But today I decided to not push it off again. I actually decided to come and talk about something that's been on my mind for the last couple of weeks, actually. And I watched a video yesterday online that really made me think very seriously about this topic of clutter versus collection versus hoarding disorder. So before we get into it, I will say hello to everyone in the live chat. Hello, Karen. Hello, Alyssa. Hello, Kelly. Hello, Amber. Hello, Miss Heju. Hello, Laura Vlogs. Hello, Hot Rod. Hello, Soli. Hello, Maximilian. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Amber. Hello, Dylan. Hello, Fiona. Hello, Rory. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Alani. Hello, everyone out there. And if you're watching this, oh yeah, it's a headband. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I have like a velour red headband. I was trying to like match my shirt, but I don't know how good of a job I did. But so if you're watching this on the replay, I will put chapters down on the video. So if you want to skip certain parts or get to other parts, just if you're on your phone, you can tap the screen and the chapters will reveal themselves, or you can scroll with your mouse on a desktop or a laptop to skip to a certain different part, or they're actually down in the description below because they have to be there for the chapters to work. So oh, you missed the dancing. I'll bring the dancing back. So just a few disclaimers before we get started in today's discussion. So disclaimers, I'm not a mental health professional. I've had some training talking about hoarding and hoarding disorder, but I by no means I'm not certified, and don't usually work with individuals experiencing some serious hoarding disorders. So but I do know a lot about it, and we'll be discussing that later in the show. And I also want to just put a disclaimer out there that I want to approach this discussion, and it is a live discussion, so I'll be reading some of your comments in the chat. Approach this discussion with compassion, and reserve a lot of our judgment as much as possible. I know that it's impossible pretty much to reserve our judgment completely towards, any kind of thing that is different from us. But it is really important that we approach some of these subjects with compassion, and understanding, and just there. So the first things, so the reason, and also we will be discussing like mental health and psychiatric disorders. And if that seems like something that would be triggering for you, maybe this is not the show for you, but we're just putting that out there. We will be discussing mental health and mental health disorders. YouTube put you at 144 pixels. That's pixels. HD, that's terrible. Am I talking about loss or grief-related disorders or breakup? It's possible. It's possible. So if that is not your bag, then you can skip this, or you can watch the replay and you can skip the area where I discuss loss and grief. So a lot of you guys know I'm a professional home organizer. I help people with problems related to clutter and home function and their relationship with their items. And it's a very fulfilling career. Like, I love helping people. And when I leave, they're usually very, very happy. And I get like text pictures of like, look what I did. And it's like really fun. And I myself, in my personal business, I just help people with clutter and organization. So I won't be talking about helping people with hoarding disorders, but we will be talking about them. And that is an organization, I field specialty that does exist. I do have a number of colleagues, one in particular who I actually wanted to ask to be on the show at some point. I will email her after the show, who specializes in people with suffering from hoarding disorder and try to help them resolve that issue. But I personally do not, but we will talk about it today. So most of the times people call me when they have either a clutter or an organization problem. So they usually call me for reasons like they're generally disorganized and need help setting up systems to help their home and themselves function. Like, these are people that don't have an excessive amount of stuff, but they are generally disorganized. Like, they lose their keys, they can't keep track of calendar events. They just need help setting up systems to help themselves function better, so that they don't spend 10 minutes a day looking for keys, or don't lose one pair of shoes and have to go out and buy another. That's something I help with. I also go and help people who have trouble making decisions about what to keep and what to discard. And once we get to the decision part, it's not hard for that person to discard, but sometimes the problem involves making the decisions. And these are a lot of people that tend to be perfectionists, like they're so intimidated by the idea of actually like doing it, making a decision. What if I make the wrong decision? That they need some help, making decisions once they reach the decision, the stuff leaves and it doesn't cause them any distress. Sometimes I see people because they have clutter, or what they perceive as clutter, and they need some accountability in order to get rid of the clutter or resolve the clutter. These people don't need like help actually discarding, but they put off organizing, or just don't have like the mental bandwidth to do it, or they're always doing it tomorrow. And these are the people that just need accountability. They need an accountability buddy that they may pay for, and that's usually me. That's usually I call myself usually the organization cheerleader when I'm with these people, because sometimes I'm like, are you like, should I be here right now? And yes, you should. I should be here right now. It's the same reason I go to the gym and train with a trainer, because I could do all the stuff at the gym that I could do with the trainer by myself, but I won't. So I need someone to actually sit me down and be like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to do it in front of me, and you're going to suffer. So that's what my accountability buddy is there for. And some people just don't have the time and the mental bandwidth to organize items in their home. Like, these are people who are either too busy with their jobs, they're too busy with childcare, they're just or they just don't have the mental bandwidth to do it, and they want someone to do it for them. So these are usually the types of people that I see in my personal business, and it's not. It usually doesn't involve hoarding or hoarding disorder or big problems. I have seen, and it's the main reason why I do I think a very good job of pre-screening clients before I actually show up at their houses through asking me. I ask for pictures and sort of backstories about what's going on, and it's another reason why I don't see clients whom I haven't met, who I maybe brought in by a family member, because that is a sign that there may be something more serious going on. I've gotten a number of inquiries where the person may say, my mother needs you, or I want you to hire you for my sister who needs her home organized, and I always ask to be put in a relationship with the potential client. I'm like, well, does your mother know you're contacting me, or does your sister know that you're calling me? And can I speak with her? Because often people who have more serious issues with clutter or organization aren't ready or don't see a problem with their situation, and that's where we'll talk more about hoarding later. Where's Clover? He's right here. It was actually really beautiful weather today. We went for a nice long walk. And so let's talk about what clutter actually is. And this is the reason most people hire me to come into their home in the first place. So clutter is an amalgamation of a few things. So here's you, right? Of all your with all of your loveliness and memories and all this stuff. And then you have your stuff, right? You have a bunch of, you may have shoes, electronic items, furniture, a number of array of possessions. But the real definition of what defines clutter for a particular situation is your relationship with these items, and whether it is a functional relationship or a dysfunctional relationship. So it's what I like to refer to as the space between. If the space between is very healthy and it doesn't cause you any distress, and you can probably get rid of some items or pass items along and not have a lot of trauma around it, then you probably don't have a problem with hoarding or a clutter problem. But if your relationship with items is dysfunctional and you have trouble getting rid of them, that's a cause for concern. But again, if your relationship with your items is dysfunctional and you have no problems getting rid of them, then that's a reason to sort of relax and realize you don't have issues with hoarding. So let's talk about the distinctions between clutter, collecting of items, and hoarding items. So here's my little my little PDF presentation. So clutter usually it resolves when items are not in their proper places. Like if you have stuff and you're like, well, where do I don't really know where to put this. That might be something in your home that's clutter. Okay. And usually clutter is not like a whole lot of stuff. And when I talk about excessive accumulation of items, I'm talking about like rooms full, closets full, of particular items where it's making the house or area unusable. Clutter usually doesn't take over living spaces and make items unusable. The next thing is clutter may cause some mild distress, but generally, a lot of people get anxious around clutter, and that's usually the reason why they call me, is that they are in their homes and they have stuff around, or their spouses or children have things around, or partners or roommates, and it's causing them a lot of emotional distress when they look at it. But it's usually not having a significant effect on your work, your home life, your social life. Like, you're not inviting people over because you have clutter. You're just, maybe like a little embarrassed that you might have like some stuff out when someone comes over. And also, usually when it's clutter, getting rid of it or passing it along usually doesn't cause you to get very distressed. You can usually, if you make a decision and you want to pass it on, that's usually the end of the distress, and usually causes you to feel lighter after you've gotten rid of it. Clutter, normal clutter is something that we all experience and we all sort of have a relationship with. It's just, and how you manage it is definitely how you manage it. Sorry, is different for everyone. Some people manage it by, hiring a person like me, and some people need a very significant stimulus to get rid of it. That Marie Kondo book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, was a very strong stimulus for a lot of people. To get rid of stuff. A lot of people love those documentaries. I actually didn't talk about the minimalism documentary on Netflix, which I was prepared to have mixed feelings about, but I actually think it's very good. I didn't talk about this, but it premiered at the beginning of the year in January, and I had seen the first minimalism documentary that they did. They basically redid the same documentary, and the first one actually rubbed me a little bit of the wrong way, and it felt to me a little bit preachy, but this one I thought was done very well. That I think the message is important and very good. So if you have a moment and you want to be inspired to maybe pare down on some of your stuff, the Minimalists documentary on YouTube is not on YouTube, on Netflix, is very good. I do think that the messages for a lot of these organizing shows and documentaries is very similar, but I think the delivery is different, and whatever resonates with you is the one for you. And maybe I might make a small exception with the Home Edit show, which I thought was very good and fun, but I did observe some like churning of items, which means like you would organize items but not get rid of a lot of items. And I found that more in the celebrity organizing segments than the quote unquote regular people, because that can be a thing when you organize items, but you just move them around and you don't really pare down on items. And not to say that paring down on items is totally necessary, especially with the clients that were just generally disorganized, but they don't have an excess amount of items. But we're talking about people that maybe it would be beneficial for them in their life to maybe pare down on some items, and they just didn't want to. So, but that's just my 2 cents on that. So that's my thoughts on clutter. Now let's talk about collecting, which I wanted to talk about in a little more detail because I found out something like earlier in the week that like astounded me, and I talked about it a little bit on my gaming channel a little bit, and it fascinated me. So items that are collected it's a very curated, sort of very themed collection of items. So they usually revolve around the same theme or category: bottle caps, baseball cards, sewing machines. This picture is of antique radios. And it's very curated and it's very, very specific, okay? And collections are usually very well organized and displayed prominently, and people who have collections are usually very proud of them, and they want to show them off it's something that brings them a lot of joy and excitement. And they're like, oh my gosh, I found this really rare baseball card. Here it is. And then, they'll put it on their Reddit thread or whatever. It's a very exciting thing. They're usually acquired through a very specific planned search, and most of these items that are collected, although not all of them, are mostly purchased and usually worth something, whether it's like a real value or like it's usually a real like monetary value, or in terms, sometimes they're just sentimental value, but it's a lot of collections have like monetary value. Collections do not take over living areas of the home. So if you have somebody with like a huge collection of like baseball cards, or I'm trying to think of like other things people collect, cans or whatever, they're not taking over areas of the home and making them unusable. They may be on display in the home, but they're not, on top of the toilet, the only toilet in the house, therefore causing the person to use the bathroom outside or something. So that's a particular factor. Plants, thank you. We'll talk about that. And collection, the last criterion is collection is usually associated with pleasure. And people are very pleased by the collections, and they're not causing you significant financial work, life, home life, and social consequences. Like you're not seeing your mother and sister and brother and friends because of your collection. They're not keeping you from getting to work on time, or you're not going into debt because of your collection. And I sometimes think that people think that collections are a type of hoarding, and I just want to be clear that I don't think that's the case. And I do think when we talk about hoarding disorder, actually I'm going to go back to the main camp for a sec. When we talk about hoarding disorder, it is a distinct, separate disorder in the DSM, and it is now separated from obsessive compulsive disorder, which it used to be linked to in the DSM-4. In the DSM-5, it is its own distinct disorder, and it is something that has criteria, levels, and it's an actual psychiatric disorder. And I think that we have started to flippantly, sort of very leisurely use this word, and I'm guilty of it as well, use this word in our language to talk about collecting, and also talk about clutter. And I think that, and I'm also trying to be more mindful of talking about psychiatric disorders and using them as normal, using them just to describe something that isn't. So I just want to put it out there to be mindful that hoarding is its own disorder, and people who I've found, and I've actually talked a little bit with Matt Paxton. You guys know Matt Paxton from Hoarders? Matt Paxton is, I don't think he's on Hoarders anymore. The show from, what was it on TLC? And it's a fascinating show. I found it a little bit, it was like to me, it's like partly exploitive and partly educational. But most of the people that have, it's on A&E. Okay. A lot of the people that suffer from hoarding disorder are fairly extroverted, very generous, and like very giving people. A lot of the things that people were keeping or acquiring were keeping gifts for someone else. Like, oh my God, my granddaughter would love this. I'm going to get it. And it usually didn't end up, in the granddaughter's possession at all. It was just an idea that passed. So a lot of people that have this hoarding disorder are very, very generous people. Teachers, nurses, doctors. A lot of the people who have problems with hoarding disorder are into not self-care, but like caring professions, right? Because they care about other people, and they may even be high functioning. You maybe even have like, doctors, lawyers, people who appear to be high functioning on the outside, but on the inside with their homes, they just have sort of lost control of that space. So let's talk about hoarding disorder and what it sort of constitutes. This isn't like stuff directly from the DSM, but this is just usually things that you want to watch out for that you may be an indicator that the hoarding disorder may be a possibility, okay? So hoarded items don't usually center around a theme or category. They might be different kinds of items, like all kinds of things. Like some of them could be what you would think of as trash, you just like different kinds, like bags, dolls, just different kinds of items. It's not a specific collection of items, right? And these items are usually not acquired in a planned fashion like a collection, right? So people who collect go out and they're like, I'm going to go hunt for this specific thing, or I'm going to find online this specific like rare blah, 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 and I'm going to like bid on eBay for it. It's that kind of thing. Usually these items that have come into that person's possession were free, they were on the street, they were given to them, or they were on sale and they couldn't resist a good deal, right? Everyone is probably a victim of like wanting to get a good deal, even me. But for someone with hoarding disorder, this may happen more often than is healthy. Items take over the home or make certain parts of the home unusable in the fashion that they were intended. So we're talking about you can no longer use the bathroom as a bathroom, right? There may be items in the sink. There may be plumbing issues. This is not always the case. I want to express that humans are a very complicated, dynamic, and just multifaceted beings, and that not all of these situations may be the case, but it's often and may be the case. So if you have to clear, your couch or your chair when someone comes over in order to make seating for them, that may be an indication that there's an issue. One of the last indicators that hoarding may be an issue is that the idea of discarding items or the attempts to discard items. Let's say that you have decided to like try and sit and declutter, and this was incredibly stressful for you, and you might not even be able to do it. It was that this process will cause you significant emotional distress, and you may also suffer from consequences from financial stability, like you can going into debt for these items. Your work life may be affected. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you are not performing at work. Your home life and social relationships may be compromised. Maybe you don't have room. Your family can't get around your house, or your family is upset with you because you are holding on to items. And in more serious cases, personal safety of pets, people who hoard animals, it's a very serious situation, or the structural stability of the home may be compromised. These are very serious hoarding consequences, and usually only occur in like the later levels of hoarding or the higher levels of hoarding. There are 5 distinct levels of hoarding that are generally agreed upon, and I have worked with clients who were on the cusp of like a level 1 kind of hoarding behavior. I don't know if they had a hoarding disorder, but I do think that there was a hoarding behavior there. And these clients like this I can usually work with, but hoarding disorder usually needs a qualified mental health professional to step in, as well as a professional organizer who specializes in these clients, because just getting rid of the stuff, just like the whole home clean out stuff, is actually more harmful than beneficial in a lot of these cases, is because unless they're like really, really unsafe, like if there's a serious fire hazard or health hazard, these like total home cleanouts usually traumatize the person with the disorder. So I think it takes a long time to sort of resolve this problem. But again, it's important to approach with a lot of compassion. So now we're done talking about all those things. I want to talk about what compelled me to sort of talk about all of this. And it is I'm subscribed to this YouTuber, and I'm terrible because I forgot her name. It's awful. Oh my gosh. And I didn't link it in the description, but she just did I will link it after the show is over. She just did an episode on Ray Dunn pottery collecting. And I was like, people are collecting that because if you don't know about Rae Dunn, first of all, Rae Dunn is a person. Here she is. Okay. She is a very successful pottery designer, and her pottery looks like this. Okay. This is from Rae Dunn's Instagram. If you've been in a Home Goods or in a TJ Maxx, you've seen it. you've seen it. Okay, it's this white pottery with the black sort of minimalist lettering that is on there. So I've recently discovered that because of this video that people are collecting this pottery, and in some cases it's going too far. And I've found a really and yes, people are standing outside of Home Goods and TJ Maxx before it opens and rushing in to get their just put in Rae Dunn stock. A few people are buying it and reselling it, but a lot of people are just collecting it. And I actually I looked at somebody else's Instagram. This is an Instagram picture from Liz Marie Galvin. I don't follow her. But this is her Rae Dunn collection. I'll actually make it a little larger so you can see sort of the detail of her cabinet here. And I mean, as you can see, the collection to me looks to be very carefully curated and reasonably organized. Now, to me, it looks to me personally, I don't know if I could handle keeping track of all of these items. And I can see that there are some duplicates in here. But if you look at the rest of this woman's Instagram, you can see that the rest of her home is also very curated and doesn't look cluttered up. It's just this display here that she's got her collection. So, and that I think is totally fine. It's not yes, I am talking about Amanda, aka Swell Entertainment's video. Yes, I am. And if you are curious about it, I will link it in the description down below after the show is over. But it was a really interesting video. And after I watched that video, I got into a rabbit hole of this Rae Dunn collecting. And there are people that have like fights in the TJ Maxx about the Rae Dunn collecting, and there are instances of people who actually go into some serious financial debt collecting this stuff. And I have in the description actually a blog of like a Rae Dunn person who is sort of coming to grips with the fact that she's gone into like thousands of dollars of debt to acquire these items. And it's really enlightening because where that border of collecting becomes a serious issue. I don't think that it's becoming hoarding per se, because again, we talked about it. Hoarding is a completely different behavior. But if your collection is creating some sort of financial, emotional, lifestyle consequences, then it's something to be looked at. Another thing I want to talk about in terms of collecting, and we'll go back to the Rae Dunn thing in a moment, is that when sometimes collections and collecting can be sort of a phase that we go through, and it can sort of work itself out. And hoarding, the difference between collecting and hoarding behavior sometimes is that a lot of hoarding behavior is going to be sort of filling a hole that is missing emotionally, and the collecting behavior is a little more of a gamification of acquiring items. So I think that this is a phenomenon that a lot of people forgot about or didn't know about, but I was part of it, so I can talk about it, is the anthro-blogging community and anthro-blogging kind of phenomenon. And that was this was like 2009, 2010s-ish, really early. It was like a very compact little phenomenon. And it involved like a lot of people doing blog content around just one store and the clothes from that store, and that was Anthropologie. And I was part of this community. And it was just, you would go in the store and you would shop and you would take pictures of yourself in the dressing room trying on clothes and review them and, sometimes buy, but, sometimes not. And it was a whole sort of fashion community thing. And it was the same thing with this Ray Dunn phenomenon where certain pieces and certain items became very valuable and very coveted. I remember there was a very cute little. I actually still have this dress. It was a blue dress with bicycles all over it, a little A-line dress, and it was called the two-wheeler dress. And when it went on sale at Anthropologie, everybody wanted it, and the eBay the eBay like bids of it all were like super, super intense. And they became such a problem that people were shopping every week. And when I was in the height of my anthro blogging obsession, and you know what, I will share my own, the blog is still up on the internet if you want to read it. Okay, here it is. Embarrassing for all of you to see. I mostly blogged about my life, but I also blogged about my clothes. Okay. I took a lot of pictures of myself wearing clothes, reviewing fashions. This is me. A long time ago, I talked a lot about auditioning and singing and stuff. I did concerts in this dress and had it hemmed. And I really actually enjoyed a lot of these clothes. I still have a lot of these things. I had a very, very, very carefully curated collection of Anthropologie, and here's pictures of me in the dressing room doing the same thing, trying clothes on and reviewing them. Look at the things, this is when camera quality was not that great, but they were, it was just the culture of the sort of environment I was in, and I was shopping a lot. I was shopping a lot. I could definitely afford the clothes because I would use the sale, rack more than anything. So I never really paid full price. But I was never in any financial distress because of that habit. However, there was an instance, and there were two big Anthropologie bloggers. One was named Kim, and she had a blog called Anthroholic. Another was named Roxy and had a blog called Effortless Anthropologie. I think it's renamed now to be less anthropology centric. You see the bean's tail? Yeah, he just moved. And I actually had them on my podcast in maybe 2011. How are we only 5'1"? I photographed tall, Margaret. I photographed tall. I look tall in photos. If I can be deceivingly tall in a photo, but then people see me and they're like, "Oh, you're a tiny little bean. You're actually a tiny bean." Anyway, I had both Roxy and Kim on my show, on the Derek and Kay show, and talking about the anthro-blogging sort of phenomenon. And I think a week after that show aired, there was a huge sort of scandal revealed in the community about Kim from Anthroholic because she was doing some personal shopping service online, but she wasn't really delivering on the items for people she was shopping for. So she would take their fee, but not actually deliver on the items, which is not great. So this was a whole scandal. People were coming out about it, and she very shortly, posted some apology and left the internet forever. I actually haven't seen her since. But it spurred a lot of conversation in the community about compulsive shopping, and because we were trying to figure out whether it was a problem with her problem with shopping and not being able to stop shopping, and therefore keeping the funds from her clients to just buy more clothes, and that is, and when collecting, because we were all collecting, right? We were all collecting clothes. When collecting affects the ability to do your job, or to maintain a functional work life, family life, or life in society, then that's when you know it's an actual problem. So those are just the things to look out for if you use collecting versus hoarding. And I just want to be careful to, and that's when collecting becomes more of an issue than it should be. Then it's no longer a recreation. That it becomes a little more compulsion, and you might want to either seek help or just have sort of a conversation with yourself about whether or not this collecting hobby, is beneficial for your life, and whether or not you need to break free from it or not. Because I haven't purchased like a large amount of clothing in a long time. I actually have old clothes from 10 years ago that still fit. Actually, these items I'm wearing right now are probably still from like the Anthro days, but I took pride in actually wearing them and going out and being very colorful. I was like the colorful girl at choir rehearsal, I remember. But when there's a fine line between collecting and displaying your items, and collecting and then going into debt because of your collection. And I do think that the gamification of the game of collecting is very addictive. Like, let's say you found like a really rare item, like when I was shopping for Anthropologie clothes, I would go to store, and it sort of became a very fun hunt for me, right? Like if I had time, like if I was off work, I would go to like different Anthropologies, like during the day, just for sport, just to find something rare or find something that I've been looking for on sale. And it was more of the gamification of it all than it was the actual like getting of the item. So there are a couple of things I want people to keep in mind when they go and purchase items or bring items into their house. And it's easy to do this online too, because online shop, because all of us have been trapped in our houses for like a year and a half, right? So I've talked to a lot of people about online shopping and their online shopping habits, and how they've actually gotten much worse since COVID-19, because they're sort of buying things on Amazon to soothe the anxiety of the lockdown. And it can slowly become a problem. So the Anthro ripped off a sweater I designed in 2004. No way. This is tea. I want to know which one. I know a lot of people just go crazy online shopping and bring things into their house, and then they don't know what to do with it. There's a lot of sometimes I'd go into clients and I found like or bags of things that just weren't put away, or boxes that were never unwrapped from Amazon or whatever. So I feel like I have the opposite situation, where like things will sit in my Amazon cart for like weeks. I'll take them out, put them in, take them out. Find something better, take them in, put them out. And then like weeks later, like finally I'll buy it, and then like it'll cause me a little bit of pain. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, should I have spent that money? So there's a number of like checks and balances to really ask yourself before you really bring an item home. And one is, were you looking for that anyway? I think that's one of the most important checks to check yourself, especially if you're in a store and you see something you like, or you're online, you see something you're like, were you looking for it anyway, right? If you weren't, then you have to go through another checks and balances. Like, do you need it? And can you put it away when it comes into your house? I feel like these are the most important. And another thing that I can't put that there. Another thing I like to have people ask themselves are, do you have a specific event in which you will use this item, and not just like someday? These are very helpful sort of checks and balances for yourself when you're online shopping, when you're shopping out in real life. Like, were you looking for it anyway? Can you put it away when it comes into the house? Are you gonna use it actually? Do you have a specific instance in where you're gonna use it? And it's just it a lot of those like I'm gonna use it someday, or like I might need this sometime, is usually an indicator that that you might need to either like take it out of your shopping cart or take a picture of it and come back later. That's what I love to do at the store. If I'm at the store, I love to like take a picture and I'm like, you know what? If I still want it tomorrow, I'll come back later. I'll come back later. It's all good. And if it's not there, then, you know, fine. There's actually been there's been very, very few things that I've like regretted not buying. Either because like I like didn't get it on sale or like it wasn't available. It's like there's like maybe like one or two, and I can't even think of what they are. Also, yes, when I move, I have to pack it. You have to pack it and put it in a box. Horrendous. Like I just moved, and it's a traumatizing situation because like you have to wrap it up, put it in a box, and then move it to one address to another. Whether that be across town, across the country, across states. Do you love this item enough? Will you love this item enough to pack it up, put it in a box, move it across the country? You got to come to whatever God you worship with and ask yourself those questions. Those questions. Ironically, the pandemic has made me better about my ordering online habits. That's great. That is awesome. Because like, and actually being home has, you know, has improved my relationship with my space also. Just because now I'm here a lot. I work from home now. And if I have to look at it or deal with it a lot more, then I'm going to change my relationship with a few of these things, you know? So like I just redid the kitchen, I think like last week. And like some of the stuff I was like, I would love to be able to keep this, but like there's no space and I only use it like once a year. So like, am I really going to miss it if I get rid of it? Not really. It's so interesting that the hoarding of clothes is more accepted because people pride themselves with a huge wardrobe. I mean, maybe. I think that the difference is, are you wearing them and enjoying them, or are they just on display? And, I think that there's another category of like the on display kind of thing that is, I don't want to use the word flex, but is like a symbol of like wealth and status, right? That people don't collect the items because like they want them or they like them. It's more, and this usually, I feel like usually happens with celebrities. They're showing off all of their Hermes bag collections. I don't think that this is a hoarding situation. It may be a collecting situation, but it's also like a very obvious display of wealth and status. And we're not the only ones that do that, right? There's some species, oh, that got really small. There's some species of bowerbirds, and there's many species of bowerbirds actually that collect items for mating reasons. This is a blue collection, but the items that some bowerbirds collect are not limited to blue. Some collect, yellow, pink, orange, whatever colors, and they make this beautiful nest to attract a mate. And so it's more of a collection for status rather than a compulsion to collect items. It was a design I sold to French Connection. The tea. The tea, though. Oh my gosh, Cindy, I want to know which one it is. I'm not surprised. I'm not super surprised, but the tea, though. 20 years ago, I worked at a post office, and one woman came in every day to pick up multiple parcels from the shopping channel. Oh no. Yeah. And the shopping channel really preys on people who are vulnerable, who have a propensity to start hoarding or collecting excessively. And they're good at what they do, right? They hire really amazing salespeople who are very able to convince you that you need this item, right? And the same thing actually has happened online with the tracking of our browsing habits on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. They got me. They got me. I bought that couch from Joybird because I kept seeing Joybird ads. I love this couch. And I actually bought the year and day plates because I kept seeing them on Instagram. But they haven't got me in all the things. But if you're particularly vulnerable, you might scroll past the ads and not be able to resist. So just be mindful that it's all done very purposely, and the algorithms are very good at what they do, right? Like a lot of people, I see some comments on videos that are like, "Oh my gosh, the algorithm! I accidentally stumbled onto this video, and I'm so glad I did." And I'm like, it's not an accident. It's not an accident that you stumbled onto this video. It was not an accident. I have like SEO in place. And in some cases, I made a compelling title and thumbnail that you clicked on. So companies and YouTubers know how to manipulate you. So just be mindful of that. I'm not manipulating you in a bad way. I just want you to click on the video, darn it. I just want you to click on the video. Oh my gosh. Currently making a conscious effort not to order too many things. Good. Yeah, I just like, it's funny that since the pandemic started, I have had to order, well, I've ordered from Amazon a lot more, but it's like annoying because it's like stuff I just use up, like coffee pods. And what else do I have like order from Amazon all the time? Like dog things, like the poop bags. And like, I'm just like, oh, because you want to avoid going in the store, right? So you're just like, well, I guess I'll order my like skincare online. I don't get that satisfaction of going into the store, but eventually, hopefully, this will be a less severe situation. I haven't been into a lot of stores lately, but I've been into a couple. It's been kind of fun. Working on mindful spending, good. I have so many items in my Amazon save later list. Yeah, and that's a really good thing to do, is to sort of move that stuff into a list. Because I find that a lot of the stuff that I moved into, like the good gifts for K list, I don't know why that's a list on my Amazon, that I will move out of that list after. Sometimes this stuff stays in the list for like years, and I'm like, why did I why did I put that in there? But yeah, I'm like that person that gets the notification that my cart, to check out my cart from companies, because I'll just put stuff on my cart and walk away. And sometimes that's even like very satisfying, is if you feel sort of the compulsion. And I've said many times on my channel that retail therapy is actually a real thing. Like, you can buy things and it will make you feel better, like temporarily. And it's like a real phenomenon that exists. I'm not going to pretend like it's not a real thing. But sometimes you can get the same effect from actually like putting an item in your cart, doing window shopping, and just walking away. And I love doing that. It's the most fun. And you didn't spend any money, and I find that, like, and you can even sort of gamify that in your whole life. You're like, how many times can I add this to my cart and like not buy it until I really need it? Oh my God. Yo, my like Amazon, my Amazon like order list over the past year has been like the most boring, mundane items. And it's actually mostly like tech items. So it's like cables, a microphone, lights. It's a lot of cables. I bought a lot of cables and like capture cards in 2020. I did that. It was actually it's very boring. Very boring. You love going to open houses to look. Me too, Patricia. I'm very nosy. I was doing that for a while. Just like, actually, we were real talk though. My husband and I periodically go to open houses even when we're not looking, because we've found that sometimes a situation arises in which we found a really nice place and we've bought it. So, not exactly being impulsive, but just keeping our eyes open. And that's how we ended up with our first condo. And we weren't really looking to sell, but we were just being curious and looking around. And we walked into this sales office. The building wasn't even built yet, and we walked in there. We're like, "What's this you're building?" And we ended up just like signing an agreement. We were there for a unit that was already sort of under agreement, but they were like, if it falls through, we'll take it. And it fell through, and we took it, and we lived there. We lived there for like 3 years. And then there was the other place, which, man, I think we were a little impulsive about, but we were just looking. I think sometimes that's a good thing to do if you are, especially if you are. Well, sometimes we are not buying for, in terms of housing for our forever home. Sometimes we're looking for an investment. So we're also sort of doing that. Let's see. I was forced to stop my Amazon subscription in order to save money, and the shops were sketchy. Oh my gosh. Oh wait, what Amazon subscription? You mean like Prime? Or there's definitely some sketchiness out there. Just ordered a Rocketbook from. And what is a Rocketbook? What is that? I have to look that up. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. I do feel devastated when I have something in my Amazon cart and go back later and it's out of stock. I wasn't planning on buying it, but hello, I was thinking about it. Yeah, sometimes that's a bummer. But usually it comes back though. It might be a while. Guys, what's Rocketbook? I don't know what that is. Is it like a planner kind of thing? Thingamabobber? Let me know. Oh my gosh. Items you can order regularly through. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, you mean like the subscription of item. Okay. I remember that. I'm scared to do that because I feel like I'll end up with an excess amount of items. And the only thing that I have on a subscription is like something for Clover that he just uses up all the time. So he just gets it on the regular, like it's like bully sticks. I'm like, oh, we're out of bully sticks. Is your shipment coming soon? It's a notebook where you write your notes and then save them to a cloud and erase the page. Oh, I think I've seen that before. That's really cool. I think my husband might really benefit from that. He is the type of person who really likes to take a lot of notes, but then doesn't go back to refer to those notes very often. So he might benefit from a Rocketbook. And we've talked about it before. I'm like, do you need all those Post-it notes? I don't want to call him out of his name or wouldn't throw him under the bus or anything like that. But like we all have our little things. But yeah, he's like a note taker. I cannot talk today. I can't buy things, or if not useful, I can get rid of things because they might be useful. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, I mean the whole like might be useful or like I might need it is a trap that a lot of people can end up in, and that's why I always suggest that when evaluating items that you have a very specific instance or event in which you will use this item, and not just like a someday kind of thing. Like if I go out and buy, like let's say for instance, I was thinking about painting all of my plant pots white. I'm like, I would need to go out and buy like white paint for that purpose. We were talking about plants earlier. A lot of people have started to collect plants during the pandemic. And maybe for some people it's become a real financial drain if they're collecting like rare plants. I know that the plant market, because I also collect plants, has become a little bit ridiculous, like cuttings of so-called rare plants going for like 4 figures for like a cutting that's not even rooted, or like a rooted cutting. Let's say like, I think the most famous example of this is like the variegated monstera, that people are really after, like the I think there's a monstera Borgiana albino or something. That's like white and green leaves, really beautiful looking, but like a lot of people want it. And there have been a lot of scams online, people selling like little bits of the stem that had no node on it, so it won't grow actually, but selling it for like, $50, and they'll put it in some, sphagnum moss, and they're like, well, is it going to grow? Is it going to grow? And they're like, no, you just got scammed. Oh no. So it's there's a lot of people taking advantage of people that collect. So just be mindful of that as well. So like, because the whole like rare plant thing has become really, really like the price gouging is out of control. It's out of control. And I think the same thing happened with the Ray Dunn stuff, that there was price gouging, there was like scamming, there was fighting in parking lots, there was making deals with employees, there was buying things before they got put on the shelves. It was like, it's like a real problem. So just be careful. Are you going to cricket the skinny lettering plants that says plant on those white pads? I'm not going to do it. I actually came across some of those Ray Dunn pots at Home Goods, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like this close to taking it home, but then I was like, this is word art, and like my tolerance for word art, like don't get me wrong, word art is a thing for some people really love it, it's cute, like if you don't have like room for like, or the financial means for like regular art, and it like makes you feel good, like there's like laugh, live, love signs, like whatever, you do you. But like for me, it was just a little bit it was going like one step too far. I do have like 2 word art things that I'm like, it's almost too much for me, but like I can tolerate it. But the little like plant thing that said grow, like the pot that said grow, I remember like picking it up and being like, oh, it's kind of cute. Because, like, let's be, like, the Ray Dunn stuff is kind of cute, right? Like, it's cute. But, like, it was just too much. It was just too much. It was just too much. I buy common plants, is there? Unique in my home? Yes, me too. I love a good common plant. You know what? Nothing is more satisfying than, like, a really well-growing plant, even if it's like a philodendron Brazil or something, or like the regular heartleaf philodendron. If it's like growing for you and not giving you all kinds of issues, it's the best plant ever. I've actually stopped bringing like high-maintenance plants into my house because I don't need that kind of pressure or stress. Like, and actually, I have a very small number of calathea now that are hanging out, or plants from the Mamari and TCA family that are like doing okay. I have one that's doing really well. But I have a lot that are just like doing okay. And I don't need a plant that's just going to do okay in my home. I'm like, if you get spider mites, you're leaving. Like as soon as I see this, like I'm not treating it. I'm like, you're leaving. I can't with you. It's just too much stress. I have over 60 plants in my house. This is jungle. I love it. I know the environment that they contribute to though is very nice. Very nice. It's like so nice. Like the feeling that plants add to a room is very, very special, and it can't be replicated by anything else. It's very weird. Like fake plants, you can't get the same. For me, it's not the same feeling as like a plastic plant. It's like a real plant's growing. It makes a room instantly more alive, warm, beautiful. But if you can't care for a plant, then like get a plastic plant. I don't care. Mugs, I collect mugs. I can't explain. Love them. I used to collect mugs too. I let go of a lot of mugs. But I do use mugs every day because I'm a coffee addict. So I have a lot of coffee. But like mugs were fun. Mugs are fun. As long as they're not causing you too much issue, it's all good. I know he's like out of control. He's like me. He's there. He's here. He's kind of everywhere. In bed, I'm like tossing and turning all night. Let's see. Oh, your donation pile's huge. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It does feel so good to like just let a lot of that stuff go. And when I had like college junks hauling junk, God, the name of their business, college junks hauling College honks hauling junk. Oh my gosh. College honks hauling junk. When they came to get the stuff, I was so happy. I was like, just take it. Take it all. Take it all. Yes, spider mites are the worst. I want to, like, if I see spider mites, I'm not going to fight them. I'm just like, you know what? You're on your own. You finished. I can't. Like mealy bugs, I will go after because, like, they're a little easier to treat and they're not going to, like, kill. Well, I mean, they could kill if left untreated, but, like, spider mites will just devastate your plant really quickly. I feel like, like, mealy bugs are a little more manageable, but, like, oh no. Spider mites, you're finished because they spread so fast. They're like, oh, I'm going to go this plant over here and I'm going to go this plant over here. And I'm like, you know what? You're in the trash. You're in the trash. Can't do. And for those of you who don't know, if you don't have houseplants, spider mites are like a plant pest that you can get on some plants, and they just what's bad about them is that they're very, very tiny, and they make webbings on your plants. They can sort of appear out of nowhere, and they're mites. They're not insects. They're actually arachnids. They make webs and they like crawl around. You can barely see them, but they will suck the life out of your plant, and they spread very easily. And they will kill a plant very quickly, and they're very hard to eradicate. Like, you might even want to, like, if you really want to save your plant, I say, like, get predatory mites. Just spread them all over. I mean, I don't use insecticide or pesticides, but, like, I will use, like, insect warfare. So, but they're one of the worst plant pests. Well, no, I feel like that thrips are probably worse, I think. Yeah, I'll put thrips above spider mites as far as like throw the plant out. Like, if I see thrips, I'm throwing the plant out in like very, very, very quickly. I'm not fighting the thrips. The thrips can go. Well, I mean, maybe if I really cared about it. I don't know. If thrips are easier on like the larger leafed plants, but if it's like a small little intricate plant that has like really small leaves, it's going in the trash or outside. Is the viewer submission for our achievements or help? You know what? I think it can be both at this point. I think it could be both. I think that we'll do a little like what would you do, or how can I make this better? And also if you have a project you want to show off, I'll take that also. I love that. We want to mix it up a little bit. Look at my tweets. Wait, right now? Okay. I just got a really interesting email. I will look at my tweets as soon as the episode is over. When is the Eve interview airing? Oh yeah, guys. As soon as we get a chance to film it. I know there were some entries under the community tab post that was for members only to ask Eve some questions. And that will be coming very soon. At least not until May. I have videos scheduled to go live until like the beginning of May, so that I can like have some breathing room. But keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. I can't throw away something that could be useful to someone. I spend a lot of my time convincing my husband we should donate instead of throwing stuff away. Well, yeah, I mean, donating is a really good thing to do. I love donating. Like, donating it makes you feel good, and also putting stuff on Facebook Marketplace I found is like one of the least complicated ways to like donate an item if you don't really want to like take it to a donation, because somebody always wants something. Because I received, and I have a very specific reason for not having a P.O. box at this point. It's because I don't want brands to send me items. Because I don't want to end up with a P.O. box full of items. So I may open a P.O. box at some point for people just to send me cards or something. But I don't want items, so I'm having I'm wrestling with like what, whether or not to make it, how public to make it, I guess. I guess I could have it and only provide it if needed for like you guys, and not for like people just to send me random stuff that I don't need. I'm very particular about brands when they want to send me items. Some of it gets donated, and some of it doesn't get used. So I'm very careful. Oh, same with fungus gnats. They killed your philodendron? They don't actually often kill plants. That's very unlucky. They're mostly just annoying. I hate them. I hate them so much because they like go up your nose and in your eyes, and they suck. They suck. Your mom had so many oh my gosh. 120, that's a lot of watering. That is a lot of watering. Oh, you never had bugs? Oh. Having bugs on plants is like one of the most stressful experiences you can go through as a plant person, because you're like, oh, well, I have now this mealybug problem. And so I don't use like insecticides. So I have to go through and like dab them all with like a little alcohol, the neem oil, and it takes like weeks to eradicate pests if you have them. So it's like requires a lot of like dedication and like mental bandwidth, and it sucks. Sometimes it's like just meh. Since we're talking about how can we approach hoarder gently, especially if they try to gift us their stuff, which you don't really want. So approach gently. Usually, so there's a number of things going on with hoarding disorder, and some people with hoarding disorder may be conscientious of what's going on, or have a level of self-awareness about what's going on, and either is not ready for help or wants help resolving the issue. But some people with hoarding disorder don't have a high level of self-awareness or awareness of the situation and think that everything is just fine. And these are the people that are a little more difficult to, it's a little more difficult to approach them, because let's say like somebody approached me and was like, you know what, I really think that you have a plant problem. I think that, we're going to step in and we're going to take away some of these plants. I think that you have too many plants. And I'd be like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I only have 40. They're fine. I can manage them. I don't know what you're talking about. And so but that kind of thought process will go with somebody who has a hoarding disorder but doesn't have a level of self-awareness that some people that have hoarding disorder have. So that's when you may want to involve a mental health professional. If someone does suffer from hoarding disorder, it has a level of awareness about the problem that's going on, and wants help, then you can ask them if they want to receive help, and that you are there for them, and are not going to come from a place of judgment, and that you're there for them, and to maintain that level of trust. I think that a lot of people are afraid of having their items taken away from them unwillingly, and that again, we talked about, that can have a really detrimental effect on the person suffering from hoarding disorder. So just know that it's going to take a while to resolve it, but if they're ready to get help, then just be there supportive and let them know that you're there for them, and maybe grab a mental health professional in either position. But like sometimes approaching sometimes people just aren't ready. It's very similar to somebody suffering from any kind of disorder where they're in like a bubble of like, this is okay. If they think it's okay, then they think it's okay, and they don't. Then you're solving a problem for them that for them that doesn't exist. Where you got your puppy? He came from New Hampshire. He's from New Hampshire. New Hampshire. One of your plants had snails. Whoa. That's weird. Did they come in from the outside? Because sometimes that's where the snails come from. I don't know. Do snails like hurt plants? I don't know. Yeah, the fungus gnats are like the worst. The worst. The worst. I hate the fungus gnats. Your mom has self-awareness of her hoarding disorder. Well, that's good. I feel like that's more of like, it's going to be it's going to be easier to resolve it if there's a level of self-awareness of the condition rather than if they think everything's okay. All right, guys, I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this discussion about like collecting, clutter versus hoarding disorder. Again, if you want to learn more about, is hoarding in the genes or generational hoard? You know what? That's actually, I'll say this really quickly. There's actually some evidence that it can be both genetic and the generational hoarding, I feel like, is a little different. Like we're talking about people who lived through the Great Depression and stuff. That is a very intentional hoarding of items that's like an adaptive behavior. Like we don't want to waste items. And that stuff usually gets used. Like it's to save, like if they're like, well, don't throw that away because like we're going to use that. And they might have a lot of stuff because stuff wasn't plentiful or wasn't available. That's a very different disorder than someone who's just collecting items for the sake of collecting them to not be like wasteful. It's a very nuanced kind of behavior, but there is some evidence that there is a genetic component sometimes. Like I think there's some genetic marker that is consistent with some people who have hoarding disorder, but it's not proven. Most of the time, I feel like people who have experienced traumatic event, whether it be a loss of partner, spouse, parent, friend, or big traumatic event in their life, like an injury, loss of a job, traumatic health event or a traumatic physical event like injury often coincides with the development or the trigger of hoarding disorder. Usually it's something that's developed over like a long period of time, like they've been doing it since they were younger, but it hasn't really been a problem because like it takes a long time to acquire items, right? Like you don't just have a house and all of a sudden it's filled with stuff. When you acquire things, it's over an extended period of time. So I feel like you can have hoarding behavior in your 20s and your 30s, but then when you're in your 40s and 50s, then it starts to become an issue, right? But I do feel like a traumatic event in that person's life can often be a trigger to either like exacerbate the hoarding disorder or cause it to manifest in which it was like under control before. So that is that. So after the pandemic, who else is going to have a minimum of 20 rolls of toilet paper? And with that, I will leave you. God, the toilet paper thing with 2020 is like, I couldn't believe how hard it was to get toilet paper in like last March. You guys remember that? I had to go to like a party goods store to get toilet paper. I heard like through the grapevine. I actually was part of like a neighborhood Facebook group and they were like, yo, guess who has toilet paper? This party store down the street. And I was like, yo, Eve, we're going to the party store. Because we were down to like one roll of toilet paper and it was getting traumatic. And I was like, I need TP. And we bought like, it was like the 1-ply toilet paper that was like, you had to use like a bunch of it. That's all I got to say about that. So I'm going to give this a little bit of time to render and I'll put chapters in it. It was Party TP. It was not Party TP that said something about being over the hill. It was not. But that would have been amazing. Yeah, not the 1-ply. It was like 1-ply terrible toilet paper. But it was what we had in a situation. It was a pandemic. We were desperate. We were going to Tarts. It got really out of control, guys. It was like, we were so excited to find it too. And we found hand sanitizer there. We were like, this place is the Mecca. What? Like, this is the best kept secret in Boston. It was so funny. So now let this render. I'll put chapters in, I guess. And I will put the link to submit for the viewer submission show, which I will schedule for next week. Check your local listings. But I hope you enjoyed this discussion and it gave you some food for thought about how I mostly want to make sure that everyone is being conscientious about the use of the word hoarding and hoarder, and it's gotten a similar treatment, like lackadaisical treatment, to the terms OCD and obsessive compulsive disorder. Because, and actually, like, fun fact, a lot of people with hoarding disorder don't actually have a diagnosable OCD. That sometimes they may exist together, but it's not a big percentage. It's like 25% or something. So OCD is a very specific disorder, and hoarding is its own specific disorder. So I just want to make sure that everyone's very mindful of the way that we use terms, and to be kind and compassionate in our treatment of people suffering from these disorders. Okay, guys. I hope you're all having a great morning, afternoon, evening, and we will see you for the next one. Bye, guys. Here's the button. This is the button I need. Bye, guys.